In the Impact segment tonight, who will be the vice presidential pick for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? Mark Cuban, the provocative billionaire investor, has been mentioned as a possible option for either candidate. And joining us now from Dallas is the man himself, Mr. Mark Cuban. Mark, we'll start with you. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, both, neither. They tap you. Where are you on that?
I'm open to both. I've talked more now recently to Hillary's camp. I'm not here to tell you that they're ready to offer me the job, but I think there's a role for somebody who isn't just a get-along-and-go-along guy, who can bring a different perspective, particularly as an independent. So I'm happy to listen to both.
How is it possible that with this growing divide, that's what this special is about, there's a growing divide, it's widening between the right and the political right and left in America, one guy could possibly be named in either side? What do you bring that no one else does?
Well, first of all, I have a tech background, and neither of the candidates have any technological expertise whatsoever. You know, Donald doesn't really use email. Obviously, Hillary doesn't use it well. And, you know, the future of this country is really going to be built on technology. The biggest questions we have to answer are driven by technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, the impacts on the job market, the impact on the economy. And so those are elements that are critically important, and neither of the candidates has that strength.
Okay, let's do this. Let me put you on the spot here a little bit, Cuban. Pro and con of both. Let's start with Trump. The pro and con of the pros of Donald Trump.
I mean, his primary pro is that he's not a politician. He thinks for himself. He's an independent thinker. The cons are the things he thinks of, his ideas, his plans, he doesn't really have depth behind them. If Donald came on to Shark Tank and came up with some of his ideas, I might like some of them, but the next question I would ask before I'd give him any money is, how are you going to implement them? How are you going to follow through? What's the substance? And Donald hasn't done a good job there.
Okay,
on the Clinton side,
go Hillary, pro.
On the Clinton side, she's not a great communicator. She's got no charisma. She's not really somebody that her presence doesn't really inspire people, particularly from television and in the media. That's a real problem. Her track record is a strength and it's a negative. You know, a lot of people aren't happy with what she did as Secretary of State, aren't happy with what she did as Senator. Some are, but I think her experience and really her temperament really acts to her benefit with people who believe in her.
All right, what's the top issue facing America going forward?
I'd say the economy, but it's too simple just to say the economy because there's so many factors that are part of that. You know, we're in a global economic community, and so the central banks and, you know, the ECB, our Federal Reserve, and their equivalents throughout the world, they all have to work together. They all have to trust each other. They're all taking chances, and they're all in new territory. And I think they really drive our economies and the world economy more than what a president does. And so whoever's coming in has got to understand the dynamics between all the banks and what the impact's going to be.
Well, wouldn't the Trump
Reserve
be more suited? Doesn't he have a better background? He's doing banking around the world globally with his golf courses and other real estate deals.
No, debt, I mean, understanding the debt markets and how they apply and being a smart borrower really is not relevant to what's happening with currencies and trying to understand when to raise interest rates, the dynamics between different economies and their banks. You know, we see it right now as there's kind of a race to the bottom to devalue a currency from different nations or Europe. And then on the flip side, we see here, you know, the Federal Reserve trying to determine when they should raise rates. The ability to borrow really isn't a reflection of how well you understand that. And Donald hasn't come out, and neither has Hillary, to come out and say, look, here's my position on the Federal Reserve, and here's why. It's one thing to just create a headline. It's more important to say why and what you're going to do.
Mark, we're seeing a lot of protests going on at these Trump rallies. My biggest concern is what happens in Philadelphia at the Republican National Committee convention. It's all about immigration. Where are you on immigration?
You know, it's obviously not a simple subject, but when you look at immigration, there's two elements. One, there's the fear of terrorism, which obviously is scary for all of us. You're in a public place and you never know what can happen next, and that's terrifying particularly for a parent. But I think at the heart of it is jobs. And, you know, if we were in a perfect world and there were plenty of jobs and everybody was getting paid what they were worth, then we wouldn't argue so much about immigration. So I look at immigration as being secondary to to the economy, because if we can solve the issues of the economy, if we can put people in a better position with jobs and earnings, then I don't think they're going to be as concerned with immigration and people taking their jobs. Now, as it applies to terrorism, that's that's not an easy issue to solve. I don't like when Donald comes out and just makes all these proclamations that he knows more about ISIS than the military. I mean, that's a problem, right? Because it's difficult.
I'm going to have to go. First of all, I think I misspoke. The RNC convention is in Cleveland. The Democrats are in Philadelphia.
Right.
Mark, who's better for America? Which is a better president for America? Donald Trump president, Hillary Clinton?
We don't know yet. There's still a lot more substance, and there's no reason to jump to a conclusion right now. Look, I'm open. I've been critical of Donald recently, but I'm open to him once I get the substance of his plans. Like any good business person, any good investor, I want to know what's behind the idea. I want to know what's behind the concept, and I want to plan. I want you to tell me how you're going to get there. And the same applies to Hillary. I think she's got to come more center. She's got to be a lot more business friendly, and I'll look at that as well. But it's too early to tell, and there's no reason to jump to a conclusion yet.
All right, Mark, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you very much.